Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to Los.
Am I echoing? You're echoing.
Hold on. We had this issue. We had this issue in football because the U.S. history degree and the print journalism degree from UNM are working out real well. Hey, my name's Ryan Tomari. Welcome to the Pit Press Live. I'm joined by, you can follow him at NM Sports Capper on Twitter, Mr. Jacob Neff. Neff, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Ready to do this, get this going. We got a great guest right now, Lindy La Rocque. We're going to talk some men's college basketball, and excited to, over the next couple of days, talk about Mountain West and the basketball season that's approaching.
We're here at beautiful Resorts World. We wanted to start out with our first guest from Albuquerque. You might recognize him. We'll have BJ Rains on later from Bronco Nation News, and then Lindy La Rocque, head coach of UNLV women's basketball, and then hopefully Mike Bradbury and the two players from UNM. But we're going to start with a familiar face, and he's been at KOB for 31 years?
31 years.
How's KOB been treating you, Mr. Lee Faria?
Well, I would like to say really well since I've stayed for 3 decades.
We're live right now, but we'll grab him on after Lee if that's cool. Appreciate that. Sounds good. Thanks, Allison. All right, that was Allison Weiss from UNM. We're going to be joined by Mike Bradbury after Lee Faria. We'll pick his brain. I'm sorry that we interrupted you for why you've been at KOB for 31 years.
31 years, basically, I get to draw basketball plays on TV.
Hey, that's pretty.
You tell me, any other station in any market that allows you to draw basketball plays on TV, I get to do that, and they pay me to do that.
I'd say that's living the dream.
Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And it's about the only station in the country that would allow you to do that.
Maybe specifically you.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, we turned it into something that was smoke and mirrors into something that's really cool. So
I have met you in passing in my years in the media, and then we kind of had dinner last night here at Resorts World, and we picked each other's brain. Today is Women's Media Day. We'll start there. What do you know about Mike Bradbury and co?
I know that the women's basketball team needed a major facelift from the standpoint of 9 new players. And if anybody's going to make that work, it's going to be Mike. It is the nature of the beast right now in college basketball that if, you can go into the portal and find whatever you want. Mike needed players. He went out and got them. I give him mass kudos for that. And they'll be competitive. They always are. And, the next step for them is the tournament. Take that next step and get to where you want to be.
You were there for Don Flanagan years. I mean, it was almost a staple that they were in the tournament every year. How do you replicate something like that?
I don't know that you do. I mean, that's a hard deal to follow. Flanagan won. Look, he won every place he went. I don't know the exact stats when he was at El Dorado, but they were ungodly. I mean, they were just nuts. And then he, I know it took some coaxing to get him to New Mexico, but once he came, I mean, unmatched. They were there every year. They were going to the tournament every year. And I was in Tucson when they beat Florida and then played Baylor in the next game. And Kim Mulkey basically said, "I'm not afraid of the old coach." Well, I got news for you. For 30 minutes, they had you on the run. So, yeah, Flanagan was something special.
I'm going to switch gears now to the men. And we were talking last night, and you think that this is I don't want to put words maybe in Jacob's mouth, but that I'm stealing from him, not putting words in his mouth, stealing from him. But you think that this men's basketball team is going to be very deep and have a pretty good year. Elaborate on that. And if I've changed the words, I'm sorry.
No, I think they're versatile. I think, the big catchword last year was depth. We have to have depth. Well, they did that. Now it's versatility. You've got a lot of ways you can go. Richard Pitino has said, "I'm going to take the 5 best guys I got. I'm going to start them." He says, "But then we're going to use our bench." Donovan Dent, I think, is a special, special guy. And you saw what he did last year when Mashburn and House were hurt. You saw what he was able to do and keep it all together. So, in my opinion, I think True Washington makes a big leap forward. I think Mustafa can play either the 3 or the 4 for you. And I think with a full year under his belt, Nelly is going to be really, really good. And when you look at the other teams, and that's one thing I mentioned to you guys last night, you have to look at the Lobos as a whole throughout the conference. What? Steve Alford had to add a bazillion guys. Boise State, hey, they're great up front. Omar Stanley and Dagenhart, and hey, they're great up front. They lost their point guard, their 2 guard, and their 3 guard. All 3 of those guys that started last year are gone. Okay? You brought in a point guard from San Jose State to play your point. Well, all I know is that the Lobos torched him last year when he was playing with the Spartans. I mean, torched. So I just feel like, and the other team that you always have to talk about is San Diego State. Well, they're kids. They're young. They're so young. Pharaoh Cooper, I think, is going to be a really special player, but he's a freshman. So I think the Lobos have a real good shot at finishing, either at the top or right next to the top this season. And it's a fun brand of basketball. They're gonna get up and down the floor. Now we know Donovan can drive downhill. I'm sure the other guys that we've got coming in can shoot the 3 ball. You can't play college D1 basketball unless you can shoot the 3. So I like the Lobos. And I picked them right near the top in my poll.
Before I throw it over to Jacob, he might have a question. Oh, he might have a question. I know he's have a question for you. We mentioned last night as we were sitting down at dinner and listening to a phenomenal country cover band. You talked about the energy.
It was all Garth Brooks.
It was all Garth Brooks. No Luke Bryan. You talked about the energy in the mid to late 90s, Royce Only, the usual suspects, Clayton Shields, Kenny Thomas, and that there was an energy. I felt it when I was in college at the Daily Lobo, and I bring up those days a lot, like a broken record. And you feel like Pitino's kind of done that again. And I thought you gave me a pretty good synopsis or answer last night. You have seen since Craig Neal, Paul Ware, and now Richard Pitino, there's a different aura about that building. And now they do have a tournament appearance under their belt. But you kind of mentioned that to me last night. Could you elaborate for our listeners?
Well, let's be straight, okay? Alford had captured that. You know, they were winning every year. They beat San Diego State game in and game out. They wore them out. They wore out Vegas when he was there. Craig Neal, totally ill-suited for that job. I mean, he had that first year with Kirk and those guys. Okay, they won the tournament. But from there on out, he was ill-suited. Could not recapture what they had brought in and what they had done for 4 years, and won those 4 titles under Alford. And so he was just totally ill-suited and almost, I won't say destroyed the program, but put it in a world of hurt. I mean, a world of hurt. Then you went out and got a guy who had 1 year of head coaching experience. And what did he do? He kept Neal's guys there. He went to the finals against San Diego State. Finished 3rd in the conference. But from there on out, couldn't redo it or couldn't recapture it. This guy, and I'm talking about Pitino, had a plan from the day he walked on campus, and we've seen it. Have they improved every year he's been here? Yes. Did he bring in solid, dynamic guys? Yes, he did. And he's still doing that. My fear is that they're going to be so good this year that he may look for greener pastures. That's my fear. Now, and that's banking on the fact that they improve from last year's team. So, but you know, and you mentioned to me last night about you love the pre-conference schedule. You love that.
I've said it on our show. I can't think, and forgive me, you know, our co-host and friend of the show, Mr. Ed Nunez, who probably thinks I'm an ageist, and I'm going to do it to you. I can't remember, and you've been there at 31 years. I've been alive for 37, going on 38. I can't think of a schedule that is this good between UCLA, who's perennial top 25, St. John's is probably top 25. What Ryan Odom is probably building at VCU is borderline A10 champion, borderline NCAA tournament team at large. Maybe I need to look at their schedule. I think
in the A10. So
yeah, I think the schedule is phenomenal. What do you think of the schedule?
Well, I've been here since '93. You know, I was here prior to that as a player, but since '93, Dave Bliss's philosophy in the pre-conference was play somebody like Arizona and then play a bunch of cupcakes. That was his philosophy. I'm going to give you one game, you know, to the point where Lute Olson said, I don't want to go to the pit anymore. But that was the formula for Bliss. Then you brought in, Fran Fraschilla. Well, Fraschilla was more apt to play bigger schools, but not this many. Richie McKay, again, a game here, a game there, but the rest. This schedule with UCLA, St. John's, you go into that tournament in Palm Springs where you're going to get Arizona State off the bat, and then if win or lose, you're going to get either St. Mary's or you're going to get USC. That schedule, if that doesn't prepare you for March, I don't know what does. I really don't.
One thing I was going to say, Lee, is I think if you look at last year, this is the reason why this type of schedules coming up, right? I mean, if they wouldn't have ran that tournament, they would have missed out on the NCAA's based off of the people that missed the tournament. So this is one of those adjustments that they're making here to show that they're gonna book these games and prepare them for the Mountain West Conference.
Well, you have to have a resume, and last year's let's face it, they didn't play anybody last year. They really didn't play anybody last year. It was a cakewalk pre-conference, and the one game that hosed them, that put them in the position they were in, was the Air Force game. And I don't know if it was it started at 2:00. I don't know. They were flat from the time they took the floor, and to their credit, it was a one possession game towards right at the end. So the bottom line is, okay, he's a smart guy. He understood, I got to build up this resume so I don't have to rely on the committee going, oh, well, you didn't play this many quad one games. Okay, well, the bottom line is they're going to. So win or lose, you played those teams. They'll give you credit for that. And now you got to go out and do it in the conference season.
How is I'm gonna piggyback off last year. How is just getting to the tournament? Do you feel that, I don't know, was it just good enough to get back to the tournament after a 10-year hiatus? Or are you going to be like me where I've jokingly said on our show that Albuquerque acted like they won the World Cup with the Mountain West title? I want to see you go deeper in March.
But that's okay. I mean, that's okay. You hadn't been there in 10 years. You got a coach that brought you there. Improved the season. Game in and game out. We won 26 games last year. It's okay. I'd rather be in a place that goes bananas for their college basketball team than, be somebody who, doesn't get that Alabama in basketball is really good, but all they care about is football. Alabama could win the national championship this year. Do those people care? No, they don't. And I mean, the bottom line is that I would much rather be in a community that loves that team to death and goes bananas for it. Now, the thing about it is, are you more well suited to compete this next year? Yeah, you are, because those guys have been there. They understand it. They, instead of, just throwing up 3-pointers all day in the practice, open practice the day before you play. Okay, maybe we need to actually work on the stuff that we actually are going to shoot. Maybe we take that a little more seriously. Maybe we, focus in a little more on whoever it is we're going to play. And along with that, with this schedule, you're going to get a better seed. Don't any games here. Clemson was really good. Big guards, big front line, dynamic player in the post. And then they brought in a guy off the bench who was really good, who could be starting any place else. So that was a really good basketball team, and it was a really bad matchup for a bunch of guys that are 6'1", 6'2", in your backcourt, because they abused those guys. And the other thing they did, they didn't allow them to shoot the 3 ball. They ran them off the line, and then the Lobos could not hit shots. That's why Nelly led them in points in that game with 14. So, but that's the bottom line. The bottom line is, get back there, because teams that don't go can't win, can't get to a Sweet 16. But you can, because you made the tournament.
So Lee, we were talking about this last night too. There's been a lot of physical presence that they've brought in, right? We talked about CJ Nolan. We think that he's one of those guards that's going to get in there. He knows how to play defense. North Texas, that's the emphasis at North Texas, defense. Also can shoot the 3. We were talking about Atiki Alatiki, somebody that can come in and provide another physical presence for Nelly. A little more post depth this year, obviously, with 4 people over 6'10". Last year that was a problem, right? And you talked about Mustafa probably playing the 3 or the 4 versatile. what do you think about these new additions that they brought in, Sacco, Nolan, Tiki Alatiki? Just seeing how that seemed to be the point of emphasis, right? Is maybe be a little more physical, bring in some more defenders, and focus on that side of the game.
I have two that I like, and I saw them in the summer. I saw them, 2 or 3 times here to this point. Nolan is one. He's big, he's thick, and you're not going to move him, which is a big deal. Those bigger guards from Clemson just moved those guys. You're not moving him. He's going to, you're going to get your quarter, he's going to give you his. I like him a lot. And he did average double figures coming off the bench, or actually, for North Texas. He got average double figures. The other is Jovan. He looks like an NFL linebacker. I mean, he is 6'10", 260 pounds. And if he doesn't have that freshman, wow, I'm playing D1 basketball, if he can come in and just go, I belong here, I'm going to, and you're not going to move me. To me, that's a big deal. When I played, I didn't like guys. Nope. I don't care if you were bigger than me. You're not moving me. I'm here. I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be here for 40 minutes. So just get used to it. Well, Jovan has to be that kind of guy. If you're looking for somebody, just a sliver of what JT Toppin was, that's the guy. Freshman. And I mean, you don't get bigger than 6'10", 260. So, those are the two guys I really look at and go, yeah, they could make a difference.
And somebody like him's a huge matchup problem for a team too, because he can bring that game outside too, and I think that's the difference,
We talked about the 5-out offense, where you have 5 perimeter players, nobody in the post. That may not be this year because Nelly needs to be on the floor, but next year, with a guy that can shoot the 3 ball at 6'10", and a guy who's got mid-range, and a guy who can play in the post, you tell me where you want to play him, because he can pretty much play anywhere you want him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think we talked, Ryan, you had talked about this too last night, and this is something we had discussed, is the depth of this program. I think that's the difference that we're going to see this year. I know that last year that, in years past at Lobo basketball, we've seen maybe like seven deep team, I think this team this year, we could see, 9 or 10 players on a nightly basis if like you said, everybody's here and contributing, and not, with some of these freshmen having that D1 kind of, introduction. If everybody's flowing here, I could see the Lobos playing 9 or 10 people, and that's going to be a big thing for them, because notoriously they haven't been as deep as they are this year. And if they get that type of contribution across the board, they don't have to worry about foul trouble, people getting a certain amount of minutes, and carrying, just those roles. And I think that's going to be big for this team.
Yeah, I think they're deep enough that you may not have to see True Washington play the point, that he can just stay at the 2. We got Kay Dotson, really interested to see him. As Donovan says, he's basically given him the upperclassman treatment that he got from House and Mashburn. So I think that makes you grow up pretty quick. So my favorite time of the year, I just can't wait for it. I mean, it's what keeps me in Albuquerque, is to just basically cover this team. And I got a few more years on my contract, so hopefully I'll get to do that with you guys again.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to. There we go. I'm number 2. Mr. Lee Faria from KOB. He's been there 31 years. You can catch him with Lee's Keys nightly. And tonight you'll have a package. I'll let our viewers know.
6 o'clock, we sat down with Gloria, and we're going to do realignment. I think that's first and foremost on most people's minds.
Because who isn't tired about talking about it?
Well, it's the topic that's there. It's if you don't talk about it, it's going to hit you in the face. So we'll do that at 6. We'll focus in on the Lobos and Mike's team at 10, and then tomorrow we'll get in with Richard, and we'll probably do that early, and then the conference as a whole as to what these guys think about bailing ship or staying with the conference. So I just think that's the topic at hand.
I want to thank you for 20 minutes of your time out of your day here in Las Vegas, Mr. Lee Faria. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It was great. And I've met you in passing so many years, and then we finally kind of sat down and shot the shit. So thank you very much.
Yes, last night was very entertaining, and my payment here for being here is you bought me a beer. So
thank you, sir. Have a good one.
All right.
Appreciate it. Lee
You got it, guys.
Lee Faria from KOB. We're going to take a commercial break, and hopefully we'll be back with Mike Bradbury and one of the UNM basketball players. Let me remove
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the pit. You got to get your own notes out. Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tomari. We were happy to be joined by Lee Faria of the Mountain West Network of KOB. We're happy to have our next guest on, a gentleman which I wouldn't lie, we've tried to steal your formula. It's Mr. BJ Rains.
It goes round and round. I love it.
Mr. Oh, let's see. Let's fix the audio there. I hope we're not muted. Hold on. I'm going insane today. All right. Looks like no, I think we're good. If you're watching, hopefully everybody can hear us. If you can't, chime in.
Yeah, most New Mexico fans probably wish I was muted. So probably works out.
Well, you have to understand that Leon Rice is one of my favorite. The coaches have been phenomenal. Nico Medved was awesome last year. Much to our listeners, I love talking to Leon Rice.
Yep.
Joe Scott's my guy. My family's from Central Jersey. He's from Tom River, which is further south. And Rick informed us. Rick will be with us tomorrow. He informed us we sounded good. You can catch BJ Rains on Bronco Nation News. I want to start here. Conference realignment. Your thoughts?
It sucks. I mean, we don't have enough time to talk just how, they're just some of the, I was just so excited last Friday to watch that Rutgers Washington Big Ten battle, it's just gone way too far. And, when I was in Hawaii for the football game the other day, I was just like, this will probably be the last time I ever come here. Like Hawaii, they're not in the same league anymore. And it's just like the UNLV being here in Vegas, like, oh, UNLV is not going to be in the same conference as Boise State. Like, that just seems crazy for the 10 years that I've covered the league to 11 years. So I don't like it. It's about money. It's about whatever. Getting Gonzaga was obviously big for the Pac, but I wish they would have just merged all the teams together and let Washington State, Oregon State keep their extra money themselves. And just seems like it's two kind of, at least right now, average conferences. If they get Memphis still or something, maybe it'll be that way. But I don't know. It is what it is. I grew up, I'm old school, man, with the Big 8, and Big 12, and now it looks nothing, and so it's just, I don't know. The whole thing kind of just sours me, and it's going to be really weird. But we'll see what it ends up looking like. Obviously, I don't think it's done yet, so we'll see.
I am this is not a knock on Boise. This is not Boise. This is not a knock on Boise State. San Diego State. When I think of Pac-10, and that's my generation, I think of Pac-10 and then Pac-12. I don't think of Utah State. I think of USC in the Rose Bowl. I think of UCLA basketball. I think of, oh goodness, what's his name going coast to coast at Taco Bell Arena in the
Titus Edney.
That's it.
UCLA.
Yeah. I'm going to start here, and I would be very remiss if I said I don't know anything about Boise State women's basketball. What can you tell us about Boise State's women's basketball?
All five. I was gonna make a bad joke, but I won't. All five starters back. I was gonna say I don't know much about them either, but all five starters back. They won 21 games last year. I think finished tied for 4th. So they had that run where they won, 4 tournament titles in a row, I think it was, and then obviously kind of had a rebuilding a couple of years. And now they have all 5 starters back. I think 92% of their scoring back. So they're picked 4th, I think, and got a preseason player. So Gordy Presnell has been there forever. I think he's either the longest tenured or right up there in terms of Mountain West women's coaches. So they should be solid near the top, the top third of the league probably.
We're going to switch gears now to this is the bad. This is the bad joke I make, because with everybody in the conference, I like Tyson Degenhart. He was great to talk to last year. I call it Fart Collins. He's Tyson Degenfart. No disrespect to him. I enjoyed him. I hope he's not watching now. I know he has a show on your network. I want to start there. He's probably the preseason as we switch gears to the men. He's probably the preseason conference player of the year. I would think many of our listeners would say, no, that's Double D, Randy Moss, aka Donovan Dent. How, with the and you have Omar Stanley back. You lost a lot of the backcourt. What is your outlook for this Boise State team?
Oh, I think they should be pretty good. I mean, they added Alvaro Cardenas from San Jose State, which I thought was an underrated, like, massive pickup. Like, that was the one spot they really struggled with last year was point guard play. And Roddy Anderson, like, was flashy and at times did some things, but overall it was kind of like fitting a square peg into a round hole. His game really doesn't fit like what a Leon Rice offense looks like. And so I just think that getting a guy like Cardenas that's pass first and can create shots for other guys, like, I think he's just going to be a massive addition for them. And they went and got Dylan Anderson, a 7-footer from Arizona that was, Gatorade Player of the Year and wasn't getting to play much at Arizona. And they've done really well with transfers over the years of guys that they identify that maybe don't have big stats elsewhere. Chibuzo Abo, averaged 2 points a game at Texas Tech, barely played. They go get him, and he's an all-league player. So they feel like Dylan Anderson could be that guy at center. And then they added an NAIA player, Javen Buchanan, who Nevada wanted and Texas Tech wanted and some other schools. So they feel like their starting five's, going to be right up there with anybody in the league. And then Andrew Meadows back and some other talented players. So they feel really good about it, and it's kind of been building for this year. Tyson's senior year, Omar Stanley's senior year. You only have Cardenas for 1 year. I mean, this is kind of they're putting a lot of their eggs into the basket this year, and so I think the schedule sets up nicely for them, and I think that they, have a chance to be another NCAA tournament team for a fourth straight year.
Our friend Rick, who joins the show, and he played a pretty high level of high school basketball, and he knows the NBA like the back of his hand. And I always joke, hey, he's a 2-time offensive state lineman. He knows more X's and O's about basketball than I do. Who will be the shooters for the Broncos this year besides Degenhart?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, Degenhart has played mostly like 4 and 5 the last couple of years, and so this year they're moving him out to the perimeter, so he'll play more 3. So he's lost some weight and trimmed up a little bit since they have Stanley and Anderson down low. So that'll be interesting. But I mean, I think Andrew Meadow coming off the bench, RJ Keene coming off the bench. Chris Lockett was the Louisiana Gatorade Player of the Year and redshirted last year. He's kind of a 2-guard. And Cardenas, like, shot over 40% from 3 last year. Like, he's a guy that I think they will rely on really to shoot the ball from the outside. So I think this has a chance to be one of their better shooting teams this year, because Stanley actually, surprisingly, much to I'd cringe whenever he'd shoot from the outside, but it would, more times than not, went in. I mean, it was and he can shoot, and Dylan Anderson from Arizona is a 5-man that can stretch it too. So I think they got a lot of guys that are going to be able to be threats all over the court. But I would say Andrew Meadow, 6th man, probably, that he's got the goggles, the hair. He's probably an easy guy for fans to not like, but I think he just scratched the surface as a freshman last year. I think, Andrew Meadow will be a guy that teams around the league and fans will really start to hate, probably starting this year.
We were big fans of Andrew Meadow. We loved him.
I don't even know if he played in the games against New Mexico. If he did, it was barely.
No, we are degenerate gamblers, and we watched the conference, so we know who he was.
Okay.
It was like, oh gosh, not Rick Mahorn. What? No, Kurt Rambis. I don't know. He reminds me.
Oh yeah, he gets that. Oh yeah,
he's Kurt Rambis.
And there was like 2 games. There was one against VCU early in the year, and then against St. Mary's, he played 3 minutes, but he hit back-to-back huge threes against St. Mary's, like, to help them win that game. So yeah, I think he's going to be one of the breakout players in the Mountain West this year, probably.
So that was going to set me up for a question that I was going to ask you. We talked about that. You gave us the top 5, or your starting 5. Who's the guy that you think is, maybe the low key guy that makes an impact for this season that may not specifically be looked at to be getting a specific amount of minutes for Boise coming into this year?
That's a good question. I mean, I think Meadow will be a big one coming off the bench as a 6th man. He's going to be a huge for them. I mentioned Chris Lockett as a backup point guard. Julian Bowie was the Idaho Player of the Year, won a state championship in Pocatello. He's coming in as a freshman, and they say has a chance to play right away. But I mean, they really believe. I mean, Emmanuel Ugbo's a big man too that is from the Netherlands and had some eligibility issues and had to sit out last year, and so he's already played like professionally in Germany or somewhere. So they got a pretty deep team, and one of the criticisms that Leon Rice has gotten over the years is that he just rides his starters too much and never plays the bench, and fans really don't like that. And now this year I think they have more options, and hopefully that means less minutes for some of these guys. We haven't mentioned them, but Max Rice, New Mexico fans love him. He's finally gone. He is gone. Cade Rice transferred also. So this is the first time in like 7 years that there's no Rice kid on the roster, which I'll be very curious to see just for Leon's perspective. I know it's, hey, it's you're a coach. He's number 12. He's not my son out there, but there were a lot of fans that thought he played a little more than he should at times, and he always got a lot of criticism from people. Most of it wasn't warranted, but now that they don't have to worry about that distraction or anything about not having a Rice on the team, I think some more of these bench guys that you're talking about might get some more minutes, and might that whole deal might go a little better. I think a little smoother.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I think that what we're coming to, and we'll find out a lot tomorrow and throughout the season, is that the Mountain West has gotten a lot deeper over this year, coming in from last year. I mean, just from a New Mexico perspective, we're looking at potentially 9 or 10 guys that could see minutes on a regular basis. So that's what I was wondering with Boise and how they're gonna fit those pieces in that they've acquired. Obviously, losing some, but obviously in today's world, gaining so much from the portal and from recruits coming in. So looking at the schedule for this year, you get to start off with Oakland, a team that made a little splash.
Instead of Kentucky, they lost like a couple of their best players, but
true. But just seeing that name, getting that. But then you also get Clemson, team that took out New Mexico in the first round of the NCAA tournament, San Francisco. How do you think that out of conference schedule plays for Boise, and do you see it as being strong enough with what we've seen in the Mountain West over the last year, seeing how we almost got gypped out of some of our teams that should have made it?
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah, how do you think that out of conference schedule plays for Boise?
Yeah, I mean, so they were also in this Cayman Islands Classic, and it was a pretty good field. And then when they started that NIL tournament in is that Vegas or wherever that's at, where like San Diego State's in it, that one. So Rutgers pulled out, and then somebody else pulled out to go into that tournament. So the field actually was supposed to be a pretty good field down there in the Cayman Islands. And they were expecting to have another, 2 probably more quad 1 games. And then literally like a month ago, whatever, Rutgers and I think Mississippi State or somebody just said, see ya. And so that tournament lost a little bit of its luster. So that's frankly probably a tournament that they need to win now, probably. I think Boston College is there. And I think there's a couple decent. Yeah, there's another one that's Duquesne. Yeah.
Sorry.
Who's the one that's
Sorry. It's all right. Nobody's pronounced Rutgers.
Who's the one? There's not Hampton. There's some school that's supposed to be pretty good. That's got a weird name school this year that's did really well, and they got some guys, and they're in the tournament. But it's not a great field, so that did hurt them. But you mentioned Clemson. They went to Clemson last year. In the tournament they were in last year, they played Butler. They played VCU. I forget the other team that was in there that they could have won the game. But they went 1-3 on this East Coast trip. And that kind of didn't leave them a lot of margin for error the rest of the season. This year, they might have a few more wins, but probably won't have quite as good of a strength of schedule. And so we'll see how that kind of plays out, because I know that was one of the New Mexico criticisms, I guess, right? That they had a great record but hadn't really played anybody. And so I'm sure New Mexico fans will love to return that argument back on Boise State's favor this year. But Clemson at home will be a big game. You mentioned Oakland. They go to San Francisco, who's a decent team on the road, and then they play Washington State, and they play St. Mary's. So I mean, that's not a bad schedule. It's not probably great, but it's not terrible. They're playing, I think, 4 top 100 KenPom teams in the non-conference. So I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not great. And so I think they'll have a few more wins probably, but also in conference this year, I mean, as you guys all know, I mean, everybody knows it's conference. You mentioned it's deeper or whatever, but they're not going to get 6 teams again. So it's going to be a little tougher, I think, from some of the metrics to get as many in conference, wins. But I will say this about Boise State. They typically, ever since I've been there, are a team that improve over their KenPom numbers every year. I think they've improved over 20 spots, almost in 7 of the last 10 years or something, from where they start at to where they finish. They really do improve and get better. And a lot of that is guys like Dylan Anderson and these guys that you can't factor into the KenPom metrics, because Boise State knows them, the other people don't. But when I say that is they started at 45th. That's their preseason KenPom. That's the highest they've started in a decade. And they usually start the last 3 years when they made the tournament, they started 60s, 70s, 80s. Now they're starting at 45. So I think that bodes well for their metrics are already that high. If they can continue to play well, that they're probably going to have pretty good computer numbers again by the end of the season. But as we saw, committee didn't really value that KenPom numbers and stuff for teams a lot last year anyway. So who knows what it may equate to this year. But yeah, decent schedule, not great, not terrible.
I thought about the Selection Sunday and one of the I'm 50-50 on Barstool. I like some of it. I don't like half of it. One of the Barstool guys was like, hey, it's I had friends that went to Seton Hall. My dad got his master's at Rutgers, Duquesne, tomato. And he was like, it's anti-Italian discrimination. And I was like, the head coach of UNM is Richard Pitino. Just throwing that out there. Speaking of head coaches,
I like New Mexico's roster, by the way. I don't know if you were going to talk all teams or whatever. But
you did write the preview for Lindy's.
I did. I talked to Coach Pitino over the summer and had a great interview with him. And yeah, I really like New Mexico's roster. I do.
What specifically jumps out at you? How about that?
Well, I mean, you mentioned Dent, certainly, but I mean, to have the 4 newcomers that they have back, I mean, there's, in this day and age, to have 4 guys that have played as much as they have. I'm trying to remember what my notes said about it, but I think it's got to be tops in the league or close to it. Four returners who average at least 17 minutes per game last season. It's the most among any team in the Mountain West. So, or right there among the most, it says. So, and then, bringing in the Arizona transfer, I think is going to be massive. Nolan, is that from North Texas? Yeah, I think he's got a chance to really provide some stuff. So, you bring back some guys with the nucleus, and I mean, I think Dent now kind of taking over as the guy. I'm curious to see how much his production goes up and how he does without Mashburn in house. But no, I'm excited. I think New Mexico's, if they got to be second tomorrow, right? I would assume they're going to be second if they're not first. I mean, they're going to be right up there at the top. And so I think, and I like you mentioned, like talking to a lot of these coaches, like Richard Pitino is maybe my favorite coach to talk to. I love Nico Medved as well. But the whole issue with the baseball team last year, and Richard Pitino is just great and had some great jokes about that. And him and Leon are pretty close. So he always gives us a good interview when we get him on. So I'm really looking forward to talking to him tomorrow.
I want to ask you about, and I'm sorry, I'm going back to Boise State because that was going to be my next question. Is Leon Rice? Cliche. It's football in Boise, but what he's done there and kind of built up that program. And yeah, you're in the tournament. How is the fan perception there? Because I saw some stuff online that was like, well, Leon's just doing Leon things, and it's a first round exit, blah blah blah.
Oh, every fan base has trolls. I mean, I'm sure New Mexico has some, but and it's the vocal minority on social media. I get it, but. Yeah, there are. I mean, they've never won a tournament game. That's a fair criticism. That's a fair, for all the successes he's done, they've never won a tournament game. And I've always thought, hey, if you have a top 25 football program, all you should really want is a basketball team that keeps you excited till spring football. Like, just have some fun games, have a team that's got a chance every year to be around the bubble, to make the tournament, compete in the upper, 4 or 5 teams in the Mountain West, and then get ready for spring football. And they do that every year. And now the bar's been raised, obviously making 3 straight tournaments. But they're 0-10 all time. They've never won a tournament game, and a lot of it's bad matchups, bad luck, whatever. But it hasn't happened. So there is a portion of the fan base that says, hey, this is he's great. He got us to the ceiling, but now we need someone else to help us kind of push through the door or whatever. And so I think that's ludicrous. I think he's people don't realize how good you have it till somebody leaves, and I think they will find out quick if he leaves that it's not as easy as he's making it look. And they're contending near the top of the league every year, and they're one of the most consistent, if not the most consistent, aside from San Diego State in the last decade in the league in terms of wins and things. So I would say the approval rating's 94%, 95%. I mean, by and large, most people love them, love what they're doing. They've already sold a record number of season tickets for this year. So the fan base is on board. It's going to be a lot of sellout games at home. And so, but there's a small minority, I would say, that are a little frustrated with the lack of postseason success. But as Leon says, they just keep pushing, and at some point it's gonna fall their way.
I have to ask you about maybe San Diego State. They're rebuilding. What do you know about them? You've mentioned it. It's been a perennial powerhouse for the last 15, 16 years, from Steve Fisher to Brian Dutcher. And what do you know about them?
Well, it's funny because everybody I talk to, and you look at their roster and their transfers, and I was really kind of down on them, and I'm thinking, man, they just didn't really replace any of the guys they lost with anybody, and they lost all their starters. And I was just really kind of thinking, okay, are they a 5th, 6th place team in this league, 7th, what, and then I talked to Brian Dutcher on the phone, and he had me thinking they were going to win the league. I mean, he just, and every coach in summer loves their team. I get it. But he was talking about, guys like Magoon Guath, this 7-footer that redshirted last year that he thinks is an NBA player. And, a lot of these guys that just people didn't know about. And he said, hey, we've started freshmen before, Matt Mitchell, a lot of these guys were freshmen and worked their way up. And he said, worked out pretty well for those teams. And so a lot of people are just kind of counting them out because they lost all their starters, and it's young guys nobody's heard of. And it's transfers that were, average transfers, but no one that just come in and go, wow, how'd they get him? Which is, again, UNLV and San Diego State, I think, should just clean up on the transfer market. I don't know how either of those teams don't, especially San Diego State. They should be getting basketball, football. I mean, they should just, it's again, different topic for a different show, but I don't understand why they don't just dominate the transfer portal if you're at San Diego State. But with that said, yeah, I think I picked them 4th. That's probably about where they're going to be in the league. Again, a lot of guys that, people just haven't heard of. And I know Magoon Guath is probably going to be the newcomer of the year, I guess it'll be, or freshman of the year. I don't know, because he's a redshirt freshman, so maybe freshman of the year. But they had, Reese Waters needs to be better. Miles Bird, is another guy that played some as a freshman. But, a lot of guys, like I said, Farrell Compton, just some freshmen that no one knows about. But to go against, it's crazy because Boise State's actually 6-1 in their last 7 games against San Diego State. The last 3 years, they've actually owned San Diego State. Again, San Diego State fans say, "Hey, look at March," and that's fair. But you can't count out San Diego State with that arena, with that coach, that team. They'll find a way. Which is, I put them 4th. If you look on paper, you probably go, "That's a 5th or 6th, 7th best roster." I put them 4th. I think a little bit based on getting talked into it by Dutcher, but part of it on reputation. And I just have a hard time believing they're not going to be good.
Were you going to ask something?
No, I was just going to say, obviously we know San Diego State is every year, no matter what it is, it always seems to uncover some people. So I think this might be a little bit of a rebuild / insert some of these freshmen into it. Maybe BJ, you could give us your rundown. Who's your top 4 in the Mountain West for this year?
Well, I think there are different tiers for sure this year. The bottom tier is bad. That's just going to be the San Jose State, Air Force, Wyoming, Fresno, bottom 4 is just going to be detrimental for this league, because I don't see any of those teams being at all great. You mentioned the coaches, great coaches. I really enjoyed Joe Scott. I actually really enjoy Tim Miles, and then the new coaches at both Wyoming and Fresno. Sundance Wicks at Wyoming, man, he was you need to get it. He'll become your favorite. He's just high energy, awesome dude. So I love Sundance Wicks, but I look at the roster, I'm it's not any good. So I think there's a clear cutoff. Again, he sold me they're going to win the league, but I'm looking at him sorry, I can't do it. But so I would say the 8, 9, 10, 11 certainly, and then I would say I got Boise State, New Mexico. I have Nevada at 3rd. You bring Nick Davidson back and Trey Coleman. Those are 2 of the better players in the league, and to have both those guys back, I think is big. And they did some things as well. I know Utah State has their trio back. I've got them 6th. Maybe I'm a little lower on them than some. I had UNLV bringing back Dedon Thomas Jr. and some of the guys that they've added in the transfer portal and freshmen. I like UNLV, but I have Nevada 3rd, San Diego State 4th, and then UNLV 5th, Utah State 6th, Colorado State 7th. But really, I think it's Boise State and New Mexico are the clear 1 and 2 for me. And then I think Nevada, and maybe Nevada's kind of a notch below that, but I think San Diego State, UNLV, Utah State, Colorado State are all kind of in this 4 through 7 kind of mix where any one of them could emerge and surprise me. I think there's, if any one of those teams had a great year, made the tournament, I wouldn't say I was shocked. But if any of them finished below 7th, I would be pretty surprised. Because again, it's just so tough to win at Fresno. And I feel for Coach Wahlberg. He's saying the right stuff. Tough. And then Wyoming, they'll probably be better. They're big on the analytics and the Moneyball type stuff. Looking at Coach Sundance Wicks, just loves the Moneyball references. And I envisioned him when he gets with player, what's the Jonah Hill, where he's just when they pull the trade off. And I said that to him in my interview, and right away he already knew where I was going with it, But he, and Air Force, you're seeing their football team. The no transfer portal and no NIL is just killing the service academies. Army and Navy, I guess, are undefeated in football right now. So maybe it's, maybe there's ways to do it, but I just don't know how. And Joe Scott, he lost Regis
Petritis.
He lost him to where'd he go? But then the year before they lost the Heidebrider kid to Clemson. They've lost their best player 2 years in a row to a power school. And so
Cal.
And so that's just, they should have had both those guys being seniors this year, and they would have been one of the better teams in the league probably. So that's just super tough at Air Force, and I think they're in for a tough one here with this new era of college basketball, unfortunately.
Regis Petritis went to Cal for our main man, Mark Madsen. We had him on before 2 years ago. Utah Valley and UNM NIT game, and Mark Madsen became my favorite. One of my, it was more than.
Did he do any dancing? Yeah.
No, he didn't do any. I'm sure he gets that shit all the
I
time.
know, and I hate. It sucks. That's my first thought when I think of Mark Madsen is rapping with Shaq on the stage. But
Shaq said he was the heart, and Shaq said he was the only person that could guard him was Mark Madsen in practice, and that's why he was the mad dog. I have to ask you about Steve Alford being the lineage and the history with UNM. What do you know about Nevada? And I think they replaced 9 or 10 guys. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and he's another one of those guys. Like when I first interviewed him, I was a little intimidated, like, oh, Steve Alford, the hair, whatever. But once you actually get him into an interview, like
He's awesome.
he's actually if he wants to be there, he's great. There, once you get him going, like when we were doing this thing in the summer, I mean, I'm starting the interview and he's still finishing a text or whatever. But once he actually like sits, is there, he's good. I enjoyed talking to him, and he's very high on his team. You mentioned Trey Coleman and Nick Davidson. I think both those guys are going to be, super big. And Kobe Saunders has a chance to be Sanders. I think has a chance to be maybe the newcomer in the league as well. He was averaged almost 20 points a game at Cal Poly, so I think he's a guy to keep an eye on there. KJ Himes. Somehow, these guys are getting 7-8 years now. I think it's his 7th season maybe for KJ Himes. So he's, a guy that in the big, in the scheme of things there is a big guy. And then did Xavier Dussel, he transferred, he was already at Wyoming and Fresno State, but I think I saw was he considering New Mexico before he went to Nevada?
He was.
Yeah. So
He would.
but that's a guy that's crazy to think about now too. You have guys on not only on their second Mountain West school, but their third Mountain West school, Xavier Dussel. So he's a sharpshooter that I think is going to, help them too. So again, going on reputation a little bit with Alford and just, you look at the roster and I like it. And they're obviously going to lose Blackshear and, losing Blackshear and Lucas. But I think that Davidson's one of the better players in the Mountain West. It doesn't get talked about as much. I think I had him first team, and I like Nevada. I've got him third.
We appreciate the basketball breakdown, but I cannot have you walk away with what is, I don't know, the machine, whatever you want to call him, Ashton Genty.
Who?
Yeah, I don't know who.
I already knew when you said that. That's where you're going.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Are you tired of talking about him?
No. I'm not tired of talking about him or watching him run. And it was hilarious because in the press box in Hawaii, it was all the Hawaii writers and people just sitting there. And like one of the first couple of carries, he just takes it as 54 yards and he's gone. And they all just start laughing. And they're like, yep, here it is. We were hearing about it all week and here it is. And so every week he's more amazing than the week before. He's, it's crazy. I mean, the game before that, the very first carry of the game, he went 64 yards or something. And I was laughing. I mean, it's like, you gotta be kidding me. He's on College game days on this and this, and he goes out and does his thing. And so, just the vision, the way to just make guys miss. I mean, it just, the amount of guys that just look like they have a perfect tackle on him. And somehow he's just shutting them off and keeps going for another 30 yards. I mean, it's crazy. The fact that they kept him when a lot of bigger schools like Oregon and stuff were offering him, several $100,000 more than what he got. I mean, he wanted to have a statue built. I mean, he didn't say it in those words, but he wanted to have a legacy at Boise State. And if you go play 1 year at Georgia or 1 year at Auburn or Oregon or wherever, like you can't come back to Boise State and have that kind of legacy. And he gave up hundreds of thousands of dollars to basically be a legend now at Boise State. When they retire numbers or build another set of statues, like he's going to be one of those guys now, especially if he has a chance to win the Heisman Trophy. And so it's crazy. It's every week he amazes you more, and teams try more and more to try to stop him, and they still can't do it. And they just have to keep these games close so they're not pulling him at halftime and hurting his stats. But I mean, he's right there 1A 1B for the Heisman, and he's an amazing player and really good interview, good dude too. So definitely pulling. I mean, you don't pull for anybody, I guess, in the media business, but I mean, it's a cool story. We like storylines, and him having a chance to win the Heisman Trophy certainly is a cool storyline.
Boise over the last, I mean, it was 26 straight winning seasons, I think I saw in the Hawaii game. With the history there, and when I was up for the football game last November, what we do in our day job is split, and my buddy who lives in Boise pointed as we got to BSU, and he goes, Chris Peterson paid for this, Chris Peterson paid for that, and I thought that was hilarious. I enjoyed my time up there. I'm such a big college football fan, but when you think about the lineage of what that program has accomplished over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Where does he in 4 or 5 games, 6 games stack already?
I mean, they have, I don't know, running back U is too strong of a term, but they've had 4 or 5 running backs recently go. I mean, Jeremy McNichols is still scoring touchdowns for the Commanders. They had, Alexander Madison is still doing it for the Raiders.
Muscle hamster.
I mean, Doug Martin going back, first round pick, but I mean, Jay Ajayi was with the in the Super Bowl, I think, with the Eagles and doing some things. I mean, they've had, a lot of good running backs over the years that have gone on to the NFL, and he's well ahead of all their paces in terms of rushing records and things like that. I mean, he's having a historic season, and it's funny because you mentioned just in general that last year with Avalos, when they were 4-4 or whatever, the year before they went 7-5, or they got to I think last year they finished 8-5, but there was a time where they were 7-5 maybe the year before, and 7-5, and it was like their worst season in 30 years or something. It was like half the schools in the country would have traded for it right then and there. And it was like, no, this is a historically 3-decade season they haven't had here. And they went 7-5. I mean, it's just some of the numbers go. I think the 97 season is the one where right before, which ironically was Houston Nutt, I believe, was the coach in 97. And Dirk Cutter came in 98, who's now back as their OC. But that 97 season, like I think it's page 64 or whatever in the record book on their like game notes or whatever, because I went back to that year so many times to find, the last time they gave up 60 points. Oh, the last time they lost 3 home games in a row. Oh, the last time and so that's kind of like the bar goes all the way back to I think 97. And so it's been crazy, the consistency. Even in their bad years, they're 8-4, and going to a conference championship game or whatever, which is kind of like why last year I think a lot of the fans around the league were like, oh, they're down, whatever. And then sure enough, they win their last 2 games, sneak into the championship game, and then win it again. It's just like, oh, we can't get rid of these people, fast enough. But no, it's been a fun. This is my 12th season. Like I said, it's been a fun ride because even on the bad years, they're still pretty darn good. You're going to get to go to cover a bowl game, and nowadays, you're covering postseason basketball as well. So it's been a pretty fun ride.
I was there for the UNM game last year and then I woke up and Andy Avalos got fired, and I was like, well,
dude,
I guess
I could write a book about that night, that day. Yeah.
And I was at the San Francisco game at Extra Mile Arena that day. My buddy and I went to see Eddie Dunn's listening. We're done with it. We're done with his bullshit. That's an inside joke.
I remember that was the next day, and that was going on during the game.
And I woke up and I thought, when I got the notifications on my phone, I was like, I thought of you right away. No, nothing. No jokes aside. I was like,
I'm sure a lot of people in Boise do that too. Yeah. We had done our post game show to like 2 because that was a late game, 8:15 game. And we had a couple former coaches in town. We did like this kind of, our post game show kind of turns in on some of these games, turns into more of like just guys having beers, talking, telling stories. And we were on the air till like 2 a.m. and whatever. And we get home at 3, whatever. And then the next morning rare morning before they go to the basketball game, I took my kids to breakfast or whatever, and literally like we just ordered the food and I see on my phone like, or someone or my wife called me or something, did you hear he's out? I'm like, what? No, he's out. And he's out because I thought for sure they at least wait till the season ended. And then I was like, all right, we gotta get that food to go. And then went home, and that was crazy. But I mean, Spencer Danielson has done a great job. He was the perfect guy. The players love him. Awesome guy. It's much better for the media. He's great with media. And I don't know if you guys interviewed him at Football Media Days, but I mean, he's awesome guy, and they're on an upward trajectory right now.
I was supposed to have him at 10 a.m. on Thursday of Football Media Days, and he did not appear at my table. So our table, and I was not happy about that. So I had him booked, and he was nowhere to be found. So
10 a.m. Thursday, he might have been on with me. I might have screwed you.
No. I was looking right at you. I would have said. I've heard good things about Spencer Danielson.
Yeah.
His name is Mr. BJ Rains from Bronco Nation News. And before I let you go, one of our usual suspects that comments on the show, his name is Jimmy H. Parentheses Forever Lobos. I know you can't see it. He says we need more pit press with BJ Rains. So
hey,
there
that's
you go.
the first New Mexico fan that's ever said something nice about me. So
hey,
I think I'm a little I think Twitter, there's never a sarcasm font and stuff. I do like to I don't want to say I'm quite a troll, but I do like to mix it up a little bit. Twitter's fun. It's social media. Like it's supposed to be, but like I said, the pit is one of my favorite places, if not my favorite place to go. And I love Richard Pitino, and I always enjoy my trips down there. And I think New Mexico fans hate me. Colorado State fans hate me. I don't know who else, most of them probably, but
we don't hate you.
But I know
we're not fans.
I think Twitter, my Twitter persona is different than real life. I like to rile it up and piss people off, and it is what it is. But no, I can't wait to the Albuquerque games on a Friday night this year in Albuquerque. And my Blues are playing down here in Vegas the next day or something, so I may have to swing over on the way home.
Yeah.
There's a couple of trips you look at to when the schedule comes out where it's like, when do I go there? It's like some of them you can't wait to go to. Okay, you're hoping Vegas is on a weekend. You're hoping San Diego's on a weekend. You're hoping they never go to San Jose or wherever, but it's like, or Wyoming, now I was the one pushing for the balanced schedule, the full schedule. That's why it ticked off some people. San Diego State fans didn't like me because I've been pushing for the full schedule. I thought that was bull last year, how Nevada didn't play Utah State 2 times. Then that determines Utah State wins. It was last year or the year before. Utah State wins the game by one lead, wins the lead by 1 game and didn't have to go play in Reno or whatever. I thought that was BS. And when it's so easy in this conference to just add 2 more games and have everybody play round robin, everybody home, everybody road, I thought that made way too much sense. And I get the computer metrics and all that, but that means I get New Year's Eve in Laramie, Wyoming this year. I can't wait to ring in the new year at the Born in a Barn corner pub or whatever it's called. But I always enjoy coming down. I think it's a Friday night game this year, so it should be we should be a lot of fun. And no Max Rice this year.
No Max Rice this year.
God,
for our fans. Hey, you can close the book on Kellner. Thank God. I will be heading up to the Boise State game, and I will be
awesome.
Because I didn't have the pleasure of going to the football stadium this year. But once that is over with, I'm turning around and going to San Diego. So I'm going to be gone from beautiful Albuquerque, New Mexico for a week and a half. I'm really happy about that. Yeah. His name is BJ Rains from Bronco Nation News. Thank you for joining us for
awesome,
30, 40 minutes.
Appreciate it. No problem. Anytime.
Appreciate it. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and hopefully we'll be back with somebody just as good as BJ.
Good luck. That won't be tough. Anybody around here, you can come on.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll be right back. This is the Pit Press Live.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook.
All right.
Of course, I was on the wrong mic. Just coming back to let our listeners know. And again, my name is Ryan Tomari from the Pit Press Live. Lindy La Rocque, UNLV head women's basketball coach, will be joining us in a minute. Stay tuned. Going to go to commercial break, hopefully at 12:20. If I can hit the right buttons on our mixer. Hey, we appreciate everybody watching. Comment. Again, we're going to be doing the same thing tomorrow with men. The men's basketball media days. They're getting ready for West Coast Conference now with the women. You can see it in the backdrop. That's her hoop stats, and I think you can see BJ's Bronco Nation news. All puns aside, I appreciate BJ Range joining us. Jacob needed to get something to eat. But we'll be right back with Lindy La Rocque, UNLV women's head basketball coach. We appreciate everybody watching. Please let us know how we sound. I know that's a weird thing to ask, but have comments, questions. Hey, you know where to find us on YouTube and X. We'll be right back.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
See the envy me, passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden, on P, can't even start it. Whole team walk through me to party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've down. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get on my shell, I've been laying low. They get real when it comes to the playoffs. The fight with me, know it's a chaos.
Play fake by McCamey. Looking downtown. Touchdown! Basket! "47 yards for the score."
Here's what they're in 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. And it's McCamey to basket. That's it. Now watch. Gordon does a pretty good job. He doesn't get his hands on him. He saw that little stutter. I like what he's doing, but he's got to keep his eyes on the receiver. As soon as his head.
2 backs and 2 tight ends. Play fake to Moore. Looking up top for basket. Got him behind his man. Flag down. The catch is good at the 1-yard line. He got him behind Ernest Gordon, but it didn't matter. The basket comes up limping a little bit.
Well, again, this is the only pass they've shown throwing out of this formation, what Ernest Gordon does. Now, he does a better job. I like him to be putting his hand right there. He's looking up. It's a tough call.
Little play fake by McCamey. Looking downtown. Touchdown!
All right, welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tomari. I'm joined by Jacob Neff. And finally, some people from the University of New Mexico. And I'm going to butcher it again because I'm a terrible human being.
It's
VNA.
Ed's going to kill me. VNA. Cumber and Lada. How do you pronounce your last name? Appreciate that. I did that last year with Reuse.
Yeah.
So I'm incredibly sorry about
Very
that.
good.
Let me make sure we can hear you guys. I will start with you. You are a preseason All Mountain West Conference member. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it's an honor to be recognized. I just want to be that at the end of the season. So making sure I do the things that I can on and off the court to make sure that that stays one of my goals, and that I reach that.
Vegas is a pretty special place for you, I would say, because of what you did earlier this year and hitting a game-winning shot here. UNLV is a very good team. I mean, to come in here and do that and beat them, how does that? I don't know what I'm trying to ask, but how does it make you feel when you're like, hey, man, I had a big shot here?
I mean, it's definitely a special place. It'll always hold a special place considering that they are ranked, the top of the league. They've been winning championships. I mean, kudos to them. I mean, they have a strong program. But for me, I think that that moment was like reflection of my character and how I feel deep down about how much I love basketball and how much I care and how much of like I would say like a dog that I am, just knowing how bad I want to win. So yeah, it was definitely a special moment, and like you said, Vegas is a great place to do it.
You guys are two returnees. This is for both of you, and you're Albuquerque, you're Sandia. What is it like? You know, what made you stick around? What makes you want to play in the Pit? I mean, the women's team gets some of the best attendance. I can list all the things you guys play in the arena. I just watch games there, but talk about just playing in the Pit, I guess, and why you guys chose to stick with UNM.
I mean, it's just a great culture. The Pit, as you mentioned, is just a great place. Like having so many fans out there every single game, it's just great. Like the support and the love that they give to us, we appreciate that so much, and that's what makes it special, and that's what makes you come back to it and want to play in it. So that's why we look forward to the season so bad, because just to be back in that Pit with all those fans out there is just an amazing feeling.
I think like you said, like the fans and stuff, like, and that you mentioned our fans, like our fan base is like one of the most in like the country for all of women's sports. And so, it's every year. It's not just a couple games. It's like every single game, every year. And we really thrive off them. And I've been telling people we have the most home games this year. So we get to play in front of that 90% of the time this season. So, and that's really good for us.
Got something. So, Vinay, coming into this season, obviously your senior year, right? You guys got 4 returning players, I believe it is, and then 9 or 10 newcomers. Yeah. What's your expectations for the season? How's everything molding together right now?
Yeah, I mean, every year it's been kind of different because we've had transfers every year. Obviously, this year is the most. But you just kind of take the same tactic and the same process that you did in the past and apply that to this team. And just making sure that you're being a vocal leader, make sure you're doing the right things and continuing to show them what a winning culture looks like. Because obviously at New Mexico, we win every year. And for us this year, we need to take that next step. So showing them what a winning culture looks like, and then creating winning habits every day.
And then a lot of, your off season, you went back and played for the national team, right? What did that do for you for, preparation for this season?
It was a great experience, especially like keep playing basketball, keep playing games over the summer helped me a lot. Just like staying in that rhythm and playing against different players from like all over the world, from like Europe, different countries, just helps you a lot, like seeing a different side of basketball and like developing your own game, and playing with different players over the summer has helped me a lot to just develop my game.
Sure.
And also to help me like to now step up in that role as a leader. And it was a great experience, and I valued it a lot.
Awesome. Yeah.
You guys lost the transfer of Clarissa Craig. She transferred she transferred from Cincinnati, and I don't think she's playing with the team anymore. Can you guys talk about that? Or am I asking the wrong question?
Did it? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
No, don't worry about it. Who have you both? This question for both of you. I don't know the context of that, so I'm sorry. I'm
You're good.
terrible. I'm going to ask you both this, and I'll start with you, Laura. Who have you modeled your game after?
Oh, that's a really good question. I feel like my brothers have a lot to do with how I model my game. I started playing through my brothers. We always play together, like practice with each other every single day, especially my younger brother, me and him. Like we were practicing a lot together for over like 5-6 years. And we made each other better every single day. So I kind of got a lot of from him, and he has like that coolness, that swagness, and I try to take a little bit of that. He tries to take a little bit of my defense, and yeah, try to help each other out.
Yeah. I think Laura really took my answer there, so that's great. I'm the okay.
Keep answering the question. I'm sorry, I got to fix our camera there.
Okay. I think I'm sorry. I think I did that.
Okay. No, it's okay.
My brothers for sure. My older brother paved the way to everything of who I am now, my journey, my path, my mindset. Goes all to Adam. My shooting, Adam. Like everything he did, everything he went through, adversity, successes, like I followed him since the day I was able to go in the gym and witness his practices. Now for my little brother Dion, he's grown up to be such a fine young man, and in the basketball realm, just growing every day. And it's so awesome to see how he's different from me and my older brother. And then it's just kind of like seeing his game and how he approaches it, and kind of approaching it in mine, and teaching him while he teaches me. So definitely after my brothers, I'll give that all to them.
Are you a better player than both your brothers?
For me, yes, I am the better out of both of you guys.
No, I had something too. So since, women's basketball is really coming back onto the map, right? You got Caitlin Clark, stuff like that. Who's your guys' favorite player from the women's perspective these days? WNBA, college?
I really like Sabrina Ionescu, and she's right now playing on the team with one German rookie. Her name is Leonie Fiebig, and she's just doing great out there. And I love seeing her out there being so great, like performing in the playoffs, like getting those minutes, even starting. Definitely those two.
For myself, I would definitely say Asia Wilson, in the sense, I like all women's basketball players. Like I don't really look up to one, but I think after this season, after seeing how dominant Asia is and her mindset and how she approaches her game, like it's just pure dominance, and that she never takes a night off. She never takes a practice off. Like it's just truly inspiring to see her process and her ability to do what she did this season.
And I'm going to switch gears here. So this is going to be the second straight year that you guys are picked 6th in conference, right? After we see the rankings today.
I'm sure you guys are tired of that question.
Tired of that question. Yeah, I'm sure. But, last year, obviously exceeding those expectations, coming in a second, give us an idea of if this team, do you think this team can exceed those expectations, win the conference this year? What's the expectations moving into the season?
Like you said, last year they picked 6. This year they picked a 6. We obviously finished 2nd last year. And it kind of gives us the chips on the shoulder. Like, look, we proved you wrong last year. We finished 2nd. This year, it's the same. It's going to be the same story. Like, we're just going to continue to fight as that underdog and kind of have that chip on our shoulder. That's actually really good for us. And obviously, we just have to find a different approach to take that next step in winning a championship. And I think we have all the pieces to do that.
Yeah, I just think it's a motivation. It should be motivation and confidence boost for us, and it is. Just like to show them people that we're not that underdog, that we can do more than I expect us to do. And yeah, just putting those pieces together and stepping up and going one more step.
I might have asked you this last year, but how difficult of a conference is it? How hard is it day in and day out when you get into January and February?
The Mountain West is notorious for being good. Every game is actually very difficult. Like every game, either team can win. It's a dogfight. It comes down to the last minute. Every single game, no matter who it is. And that just speaks for the conference itself and how powerful and how strong we are. And sometimes the losses may reflect crazy on your record, but just know that every game in conference, it literally comes down to the last 2 minutes, men's and women's. So it's interesting. I actually really like it.
Yeah, we saw that last year. I mean, all of our games were like close. Every single game is a game in itself. Like you never for sure win, you never for sure lose. Everybody has always to fight for their win, and it always comes down to the last seconds, which makes it exciting, which makes it a good, really good confidence, like really, really competitive, and that's what we like about it.
You've played basketball internationally, and you found yourself at UNM. What have you noticed a difference yet? I don't know what I'm asking, but
Yeah, that's fine.
between the European game and what we do here in America, I guess, was there a difference?
Yeah, I mean there are some rule differences. They're like minor, but like you notice them like as a European player that there's some differences. But basically it's just I would say it's a little bit quicker. Like people do play a little bit quicker and for sure more physical. Like you got to be tough under the basket because the referees don't call a foul like they usually would do in Europe, maybe. So for sure the physicality.
That's interesting.
Why is that interesting?
Oh, I think that's interesting that you say that they don't call, they let us play more physical, because then there's people who are like, the refs are just like your best friend. Like they call everything. You can't be physical. You can't touch them. So I guess there's two sides of it.
Is there a you guys finished second. You had a phenomenal. I would say there's been with you guys finishing second and then Coach Bradbury winning Coach of the Year, and then what has happened on the men's side? Do you ever get sick of like, okay, the men won the conference tournament, they made the tournament? Is that add to that chip on the shoulder?
Yes and no. I mean, we're actually happy for them because they've had to kind of turn around their program, and kudos to all the coaches and the staff over there doing that for their program. For us, it's kind of like we've earned our respect in the sense that we've constantly been good every single year under Coach Bradbury, and his record will show that. It does add a little bit of a push to take that next step and win a championship. I mean, we're always going to feel that way, but actually, we're just more proud of them than anything.
I figured that's a typical media question that I would always ask. And I felt like I was crashing and burning there in this interview, so
No.
I'm sorry, guys. You would never know I try to do this for a living. What can fans expect from some of the newcomers this year?
Oh, they can expect just great energy there on the court. We have a lot of good 3-point shooters out there, so there will be some 3-pointers falling. Yeah, just like great personalities out there on the court.
And I'm assuming that the new additions obviously are going to be, we know that you guys have that up and down style of play, right? How are those newcomers fitting into that, that style?
I mean, everybody has their own talents and everybody brings their own stuff to like what we try to do. And I feel like all of them kind of like try to adapt and like fit in, but everybody brings what they can do best. And that's what makes us a good team.
Before I let you guys get out of here, you mentioned a lot of threes falling. I mean, what kind of style do you expect? Another dumb question. What kind of style do you guys expect this year from you guys, and what can fans expect?
I think obviously we're just known for playing up and down, quick, fast, get a lot of points up. And I think that won't change. I think that's kind of the theme every year under this coach, and that's part of the reason why we win. Is we don't let the game come to us. We kind of just take on the game ourselves, and that's kind of been our identity.
That's a very good answer. I appreciate that. All right, comes the top part that I hate of every interview that I do is butchering the names. VNA Cumber and Laura Langerman, right?
Yes.
Lotta. I'm sorry.
Great.
Before I let you go, my last name is Tomari, and if I hadn't heard the Annie reference, if you know what it is, Tomorrow. I get that all the time. I appreciate you guys. Best of luck this season. Appreciate you taking 7 to 10 minutes with us here. My name is Ryan Tomari. This is the Pit Press Live. We'll be right back. Another commercial break, and hopefully we'll have head coach Mike Bradbury on. Appreciate everybody listening.
Let him cook! I said let him cook!
Yes, we were very well aware that the two UNM basketball players were not Lindy La Rocque. I produced the show myself, and I apologize, but it's nice to hear from you, Tommy Gunn. Hope the film industry as well, or your boxing career as well. Glad to see that. Yeah, I apologize for that. We were supposed to have Lindy La Rocque and then Vienna Cumber and Laura Langerman from UNM women's basketball team joined us. It was nice catching up with them. We are here at Resorts World in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada for Mountain West Conference and West Coast Conference Media Days. We're coming to you live, and I think people have forgotten that. We were supposed to sit down with Mike Bradbury and head women's basketball coach at UNM, and he has prior obligations. It seemed like he was looking forward to talking to us. We were hoping to get Lindy La Rocque. Let's see if we can. But Jake, what have you taken away from Mountain West Conference Media Days this far? It's not as hectic. Wait for tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, it's been great, man. I get to talk to some of these coaches, the players, you know, getting more entrenched into the women's game, the conference, you know, some interesting personalities, different people.
Yep.
It's nice to talk to Vinay and Lada. I mean, I sat down and had lunch with both of them.
Yep.
Very nice individuals. Mike was looking forward to coming on, and then he got dragged off into the Mountain West interviews. But
meetings.
I mean, great people. It's been interesting, been fun. It's been nice to talk to some people. Obviously, sitting across from, you know, the star basketball player and Marilyn. Forget her name now.
She's right across from us.
She's right across from us, and she's been interviewing coaches, teams all day. But yeah, it's been fun. Can't wait for tomorrow too. The men's will be a different animal, it seems like.
Yeah, no, this is pretty laid back. I think we might cut out live here for a bit, and then we will come back with Mike Bradbury if he's ready. So I'll just create a new link. Looking forward to talking to him. Feel free to hit us up on Twitter. Feel free to hit us up on YouTube with any comments and questions. Again, tomorrow will be more jam-packed. We thought about doing a live show from 3 to 4 today. I don't know if that's necessary, being that we went live now, and that we've gotten some quality interviews, especially thanks to BJ Rains from Bronco Nation News, Lee Faria from KOB back in Albuquerque. I do appreciate the two girls that joined us, Vinay, and I butchered all the Vienna Cumber and Laura Langerman. We'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll probably be back. We'll see where Mike is. If not, I'll just I'll come back on and give you a heads up on what we're doing. But we appreciate everybody watching on a Wednesday. So a lot more viewers than I thought. I'm running out of gas. I need to eat something. I'm just running off fumes. And yeah, I saw the Diet Coke. I moved it because they're not a sponsor, and it is Diet Coke. I don't really like to preach, hey, I'm sober. I haven't had a sip of alcohol in over 3 years, Jimmy. We'll take a quick commercial break, see where we're at, about 10, maybe 7 minutes, and hopefully we'll get Mike Bradbury on. But again, appreciate everybody watching. My name is Ryan Tomari. This is Jacob Neff on the Pit Press Live.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Play fake by McCamey. Looking downtown. Touchdown! Basket! .47 yards for the score.
Here's what they're in 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. And it's McCamey to basket. That's it. Now watch. Gordon does a pretty good job. He doesn't get his hands on him. He fell for that little stutter. I like what he's doing, but he's got to keep his eyes on the receiver. As soon as his head.
2 backs and 2 tight ends. Play fake to Moore, looking up top for basket. Got in behind his man. Flag down, the catch is good at the 1 yard line. He got in behind Ernest Gordon, but it didn't matter. The basket comes up limping a little bit. Play fake by McCamey. Looking downtown. Touchdown! Basket! .47 yards for the score.
Here's what we're doing, 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. And it's McCamey to basket, that's it. Now watch, Gordon does a pretty good job. He doesn't get his hands on him. He fell so that little stutter. I like what he's doing, but he's got to keep his eyes on the receiver. As soon as his head
Two backs and two tight ends. Play fake to Moore, looking up top for basket. Got in behind his man. Flag down, the catch is good at the 1 yard line. He got in behind Ernest Gordon, but it didn't matter. The basket comes up limping a little bit.
Well, again, this is the only pass they've shown throwing out of this formation, what Ernest Gordon does. Now, he does a better job. I like him to be putting his hand right there. He's looking up. It's a tough call.
Little play fake by McCamey. Looking downtown. Touchdown! Basket! 47 yards for the score.
Here's what they're in 22 personnel, two backs, two tight ends. And it's McCamey to basket. That's it. Now watch. Gordon does a pretty good job. He doesn't get his hands on him. He fell that little stutter. I like what he's doing, but he's got to keep his eyes on the receiver. As soon as his head.
Two backs and two tight ends. Play fake to Moore, looking up top for basket. Got in behind his man. Flag down, the catch is good at the 1 yard line. He got in behind Ernest Gordon, but it didn't matter. The basket comes up limping a little bit.
Well, again, this is the only pass they've shown throwing out of this formation, what Ernest Gordon does. Now, he does a better job. I like him to be putting his hand right there. He's looking up. It's a tough call.
Little play fake by McCamey. Looking downtown. Touchdown! Basket!
In this new era of college football, where old-fashioned media.
Our head coach of our local football program, Bronco Mental.
The details themselves, with the right preparation, can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.
Our head coach of our local football program, Bronco Mental.
The details themselves, with the right preparation, can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.
All right, Jacob Neff is standing behind me. We're still waiting on Mike Bradbury, so I thought I'd check in with everybody that's watching. My name is Ryan Tomari, coming to you from Resorts World in Las Vegas. Obviously, we're live. Going to give you a heads up probably about tomorrow. We will probably be live all day, especially in the morning, probably about 8, 9 Mountain Time. With all of the guests we have lined up for men's basketball. So we'll probably tweet that out. We'll keep everybody informed. I'm going to head back to commercial break. We'll give it like another 5 minutes. Probably after that, we hope to grab Mike Bradbury. You can listen to this episode later on YouTube. We appreciate everybody watching and listening. And again, going to another commercial break. I apologize. My name is Ryan Tomori. This is the Pit Press Live.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
All right, yeah, we are back and very happy. Let me make sure the mic is good. There we go. All right, it is the head coach of the UNM women's basketball team, and he's the reigning Mountain West Conference Coach of the Year. His name is Mr. Mike Bradbury. It's been a chaotic, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you how your day's going. Well, you know what I will. How's your day going? How's Vegas treating you?
It's going good. It's going good. Could have been going home, but now we're not. So
Well, you're talking to us.
But I'm happy that I'm on here.
Hey, we appreciate you. Ryan Tomari, Jacob Leff. We're at Resorts World. Coach, you and I butcher her name all the time. Vienna Cumber. She's on All Mountain West Conference preseason team, and I'm going to curse on my own show. It probably doesn't mean shit, but you still get an honor like that. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think it's great. Well deserved for BNA. She is, a 4-year player, has worked her way through everything, played a little bit as a freshman, a lot more as a sophomore, was a key part in last year's second place team. And now, preseason all conference, clearly the leader of our team now. And we depend on her for a lot of things. She's obviously a very capable scorer, 3-point shooter. She's added some stuff to her game for this coming year. So looking forward to it. She's very important to us.
And for somebody that has stuck around, she's an Albuquerque kid, went to high school in Albuquerque, cliche, and you've probably heard it a million times, but what does that mean?
Well, it's been great for her. I think when you get, the Gatorade Player of the Year and she stays home and has a very successful career, then that allows you to continue that, hopefully into the future. And it's meant a lot for her. Obviously being a local person, she's benefited from the, NIL stuff and things like that. She has name recognition and all of that. So I think it's been good for both of us.
That actually brings me to my next question, Coach Bradbury, is, how important or how excited are you about the NIL? I know next year you've got a huge class come in. You got a lot of length. You got a lot of bigger players come in. You've really hit that pipeline right there.
Yeah.
How important is that for the future of the program?
Yeah, it's been good because we've been on the women's side. We've been lagging behind here as far as our competition the last couple of years, and we've been able to overcome it with some tough, gritty players and hardworking kids, and we're able to stay in the top 2 or 3 of the league every year, but it gets tougher. And now we're finally at a place where we're in a good spot NIL wise. And I think this, the class that we're about to sign in November, you will see a very, very good class. And that's NIL is a big part of it.
I heard you answer this question earlier, but not for our listeners. Hey, you were picked 6th last year, and you're probably going to hear this in your sleep tonight. You were picked 6th last year. You finished 2nd. You're picked 6th this year. I know you probably don't care, but when you see it, are you kind of like, all right, whatever?
It's kind of like whatever. You're right. But if you think about it, okay, you have to pick UNLV first because they finished first the last couple of years. Okay. If you did any research, you have to pick Colorado 2nd because they have the best player. Okay. And then you pick Wyoming and Boise 3rd and 4th. They return a lot of players. So it makes perfect sense to me, when you think about it. Then you get down to whoever was next, us, San Diego State, Nevada, Fresno, whoever it was. Okay, well, nobody knows. So it's going to be a mess through there. Now, one of us that aren't in that top 4, I don't know who it'll be. Hopefully it's us. We'll probably finish in the top 2 or top 3 for whatever reason, because that's what happens, but from a voting standpoint, it actually makes sense to me.
Absolutely. No. And another question here. I know you returned in 4 players. Obviously, you have an incoming class of 9 or 10. I think it is new. How's the meshing going on with the style of play and bringing in all of those new faces?
Yeah, it's going good. Our chemistry's been good. Our everybody gets along. We have high character kids, so that part's been good. We're a long ways away from being any good. We've still got to continue to work and get every player that we have into the right position where they can be successful. We have talent. We just have to get them in the right spot where they can be good together. And last year we got to that point. That took us till mid-December to get there. But once we got there, we were good. So hopefully we do it a little quicker this year, but the most important thing is get there sometime.
Yeah, and then we had Vinay and Lada on earlier, and they talked about all the games in the Mountain West Conference coming down to the final couple minutes every time, right? Obviously, it's a tough league. Can you expand on maybe just that your out of conference schedule and how you're prepping to attack the 2024 season?
Yeah, I think our non-conference schedule is very, very tough. We got 5 teams that were really, really good, starting with Northern Arizona right off the top. So, non-conference schedule is difficult. We're going to have to do a good job of navigating that, and it's going to be hard to do. Make sure we keep our confidence up regardless of some of the outcomes. Then once we get into conference play, I mean, it's pretty much a grind. Like, you have to be able to battle out and win some close games, and we won a ton of those last year. And that's why we were able to get up there. It comes down to this is there's going to be, if you play in 18 games, 6 that you're going to win, 6 that you might lose, that you're probably going to lose. And well, what are you going to do with those other 6? And if you can win those, then you have a good year. If you don't, then you don't, so, I don't know. I think we ended up 13-5 or something, maybe 12-6 last year. And okay. So, we were able to win more than our fair share of the close ones.
When you're winning close games like that, I don't know if it doesn't matter in any sport, but what does that speak to the character of your team that you're able to grind it out and finish that game? What does that say about your team?
Well, that team last year was tough, and they were gritty, and they could grind out games, and they could win ugly games. We knew from the very beginning that we were going to have real trouble scoring the ball. We had to hang our hat defensively. We had to be good. We had to create points in transition from our defense, things like that, because we just weren't very good offensively. And that team bought in, and that's what we did. And we never panicked, never wavered. And we knew we were going to be in a 1 or 2 possession game. So we never got nervous about that. And I think we benefited a lot.
I was just going to say, I think that probably helps coming into this year, right? Is being involved in so many of those tough games last year. I feel like that would be, something that carries over into this year, right? And then you have those leaders from last year that teach the newcomers, obviously, to adapt to that style. So, yeah, no, that's exactly how I see it. Exactly how I see it.
You came in here last year, and they were ranked, I think, 24th or 25th, and you knocked off UNLV at Cox Pavilion. Ms. Cumber hit a incredible last second, I think, 3, took the lead. And she had kind of a 2-part question. How big of a win, I know it's down the stretch, doesn't mean much now, but how big of a win was that? And what's the conference to you every night in and night out? It's like Vianney was saying that it's like, getting punched in the mouth every night. You punch back, that type of deal. If you could answer both those questions.
Yeah, I think for us, in the league, we expect to play those kind of games. In that particular game, that was a big shot. It meant a lot to us. Just because, it shows now that, you're capable of winning any game now. And we had the confidence that we could do that, and we could win a big, tough road game, when there was something on the line. So that gave us that. And then you talk about in the league and what it's like every night. And that's, that's what you get. That game was a good game for us. They missed some shots, and we made some down the stretch, and V carried us in that game. But last year was difficult for us every game because we couldn't score enough, and we weren't potent enough offensively to spread out a lead. So everything was close. So we just embraced it and just knew that we're up 6, down 6 with a minute to go. That's what it was going to be.
Everybody loves the chaos.
Yeah, we got some listeners here. Somebody wanted to ask, they said, ask Coach, who do you think the scorers are going to be this year? Obviously, we know Vinay.
Yeah. Right now, I'm going to say VNA, Amaya Moreland, Destiny Hooks. Those will be, probably those are some of the older ones that can help. Alyssa Hargrove, maybe.
I think I know the answer I'm going to get. Conference realignment. Do you like talking about it? What do you think about it?
I'm pretty simple person. I don't spend much time thinking about stuff that I have no control over. And so I don't have a great opinion because I've spent no time thinking about it or researching it or asking questions or anything. A Mountain West made perfect sense to me before. Some people, I guess, wanted to leave, and I get it for whatever reason. You got to do what's best for your school. I mean, we'll get some new ones, or we won't. We still have 8 teams, and so whatever, we're going to play whoever's in front of us, is what I would say is about that stuff. The reason I don't spend any time thinking about it, there is a reason. At New Mexico, men's and women's basketball are supported tremendously. Okay. We both have great fans, and a lot of them. And no matter what league we're in or what we're doing, the men are going to get 13 to 15,000, and they're going to win. We're going to get 5 to 7,000, and we're going to win. And our administration is going to continue to support us. So for me to worry about what league we're in doesn't matter, because New Mexico women's basketball will be no different regardless of the league that we're in, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. Well, piggybacking off that, for your time that you've been at UNM, when you walk down the rim for a game, I mean, how do you relish it? Do you embrace the pit? What are your thoughts still?
Well, it's an amazing place, and we have amazing fans. It's great. I will say this: it is much better when you're having a good year. Maybe not so great when you're not. It's
called fickle or fair weather. I say that all the time.
So, I enjoy it a lot more when I think we've lost 6 or 7 games in 3 years. So it's been great. We did have a bad year 6 years ago, I think. And I say bad year, we were 15 and 17, so it wasn't atrocious, but we lost probably 6 or 7 home games that year. And that was not so fun. But it's been a while. It's been a while.
Winning cures all. Nobody likes losing. I like that answer. I asked Vianney this. It is with kind of the 1-2 punch and what New Mexico is as a basketball state. When you have the men doing what they're doing, you guys doing what you're doing, does that put a chip on your shoulder? Like, yeah, maybe we can win a couple more games than them, or I'm not saying you're competing against them, but does it be like, yeah, we're as good as them?
No, not really. The biggest thing is for us is we support each other, and Coach Patino is outstanding. Outstanding coach, runs an outstanding program, but he is great to us. We're friends. We talk every day. We play golf together. So that's the most important thing. And, we want them to win every game because we know what it means to the whole athletic department. When they're putting 15-5 in there every night, everybody benefits. He wants us to win every game. So I think, do you want to win more than them or whatever? Yeah, I hope they win 28 games, and I hope we win more than them. That would mean it'd be a heck of a basketball year at New Mexico.
Lastly, what can fans expect out of the UNM women's basketball team this year?
They're going to expect to see a hardworking, high-character team. And we're going to have kids with a lot of class and act the right way and do the right things. And we're going to play extremely hard, and we're going to win as many games as our talent allows. And that's what we try to do every year. And we try to do it the right way with the right kids.
He is the UNM women's head basketball coach. It's Mr. Mike Bradbury. I really mean this. Thank you for your time today. Have a safe travel home. I hope you get the hell out of here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Appreciate it. That was UNM head women's basketball coach Mike Bradbury. We will be right back. Appreciate his time.
cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Our head coach of our local football program, Bronco mental.
The details themselves with the right preparation can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.
Our head coach of our local football program, Bronco mental.
The details themselves with the right preparation can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.
Our head coach of our local football.
All right, welcome back to the Pit Press Live and our last interview today at what is now West Coast Conference Women's Basketball Day. Joined by the head coach of the defending Mountain West Conference champions at UNLV. She's a Lady Rebs head coach, Lindy La Rocque. Lindy, how are you doing today?
Day of talking, so I was able to grab some food before they packed it away. So you should be happy you're not getting hangry, Lindy.
Oh, thank God. We are. We have hot, spicy old trapper beef jerky. If you'd like some of that,
you just a fan.
Yeah,
is that the show sponsor of the day?
They are. They just don't know that.
Yeah.
How you? I saw somebody on a comment, and I hope I have this. Not doing my journalistic due diligence. 41-1 in your last 42 games. That's pretty dominating. We talked to you last year. I mean, what you've built at UNLV. Do you have any words? Do you express how hard work? I don't know what kind of question that is because I'm ready to get out of here too.
Well, I'm sure you didn't point out the one was to the Lobos.
Well,
so,
I mean, for our listeners, they care.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. I still remember that one, and I'm not happy about it. But no, I mean, that number is pretty staggering and remarkable. That the success is hard, and you guys know that just winning is really hard, and then to do it repeatedly to try to sustain that is even more difficult. It's not me, the secret sauce, but I think it's just having the right people, the right time, like doing the right thing, and more than that, it's the right people. That's players, that's coaches, that's staff, that's administration. That's one sour apple can really turn 41-1 into 21-20. So it doesn't take much to mess it up. So I'm really, I'm grateful for the people that we've got, around us.
How do you get young women to buy into the culture?
Yeah, the culture, I mean, that is the piece, and it's getting harder and harder, to be honest, every year, just with all of the different things at play, the way the landscape is changing, NIL, like just it's crazy. And so for it's, we're maybe the old guys that like appreciate the winning. Some of these kids don't care about winning. And so from a recruiting standpoint, it's really changing. Some of it's about money, some of it's not, so it's just the culture piece is really hard, and so I just like we have to continue to like cast a really wide net, and to do our due diligence on young women that we're recruiting, and have to trust that like the ones that are meant to be here are going to come. And it may not always be the best player on our board, which like, from a coach's, it's like, oh, I really wanted that kid, or, but that at the end of the day, we're going to figure it out with the right people. And, and you got to have some blind trust in that.
And how much success does, we just talked about 41-1, 30-3 last year. How much does that help with keeping the players around and showing them that, you guys have a winning formula rather than having to dig deep into NIL or transfers every year? You know what I mean? Just based off that.
Well, it's interesting. I think it's more of the recipe to keep your players. Again, like you think it's like, oh, you're winning, everyone will want to come play for you. And it's like, actually, no. It's weird, right? Like so many things in recruiting don't make sense. It's like what seems logical is obviously more often than not what happens, especially when you've got one perspective like we do. But I think that helps with the retention piece of, we try to provide an experience for our players on and off the court that is really hard to leave, even if your personal, situation you think could be better, but whether that's an academic standpoint of having a great education, but just having a great team culture and winning, and it's like, do they all want to play more? Sure. So you can go and play more somewhere else, but you may not get a ring, so then that's I think the way that, and that's not how we've kept them, but I think that's what the young people that see this flashy, the grass is greener option everywhere, and people are just transferring willy nilly. I'd like to think our players have to really try to think twice about it, because you're going to give up a lot.
I asked Barry Odom this at football media days here, and they've had some success. I'm not here to talk about football, but I may have asked you this last year, and then you have a men's program that I love history, so it's deep in my mind about what they probably meant to Las Vegas, and you're from here. But how have you embraced the city and the flashiness? Have you embraced that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd be silly not to, like we've got the Las Vegas skyline on our court for a reason. Like, that's one of the things I believe that makes us unique, whether it's the lights that stay on 24 hours or, the flashiness, like you said. But I think it's also, we've got a lot of other attractions in town, especially from a sports perspective now. And so, I can't go around hating on those people. That doesn't get us more fans. That doesn't help our community. But I try to abide by the more people I can support, then the more hopefully that then will come back and support us. So I've got season tickets to the Knights, to the Aces, to, every team in town. We've got lacrosse. We've got, the baseball is coming, so I'm with you. I was born and raised here. Before all of that, it was about the Rebels, and that's my heart, and that's why I've got the dream job that I do. And I think there's a lot of Las Vegas locals and natives that remember those days. So I'm trying to help bring them back to the forefront.
I'm a University of New Mexico alumni, and I think I hate Duke for beating them when I was like 3 or 4 years old. So go figure. I'm not, and I'll be candid with you, I'm not obviously familiar. There's a reason I have a degree in history and journalism. I'm a moron. How NIL works, and I'm still trying to gather it, how it works at UNM. What kind of, and if you can, I don't know what you can and can't elaborate, but how does NIL impacted you? How do you utilize it here at UNLV?
Yeah, it just, it's for the first couple of years. I think now we're going until like entering the 4th year of NIL availability or possibility or whatever you want to call it. In the first couple of years, obviously it was like major football, major men's basketball, and really like kind of the 1%, the quarterbacks and, the major players at some of the top universities. And so now how it 4 years later, it's trickled down into almost all sports, and for sure in women's basketball. And, the whole thing of what it's intended to be versus what it's turned out to be, I think are drastically different. But it's a part of the recruiting. It's a part of the educational experience now. I think there's a lot of positives to it. A lot of these student athletes don't have enough money. Like the scholarship check, the stipend money isn't enough, to fuel properly, to be able to get the recovery and the performance, stuff that they need. So I do think there is some of that. And then some of these, like 1% student athletes that are in commercials, like the Caitlin Clarks. I'm like, do that, girl, like good for you. That's not the university doing that for her. That's like your personal brand doing it. And I think that was the intent of the rule. So now it's obviously more turned out to be just how can we provide, extra financial, enhancements, if you will, to have student athletes have a great experience. Obviously some would argue that it's closer to pay for play, but, it's affecting our league, especially because as our league is trying to get better, we're trying to recruit the next level of players, which then requires the next level of investment. When you're trying to go against the Colorados, the Utahs, the Washingtons, for recruiting players, well, we're operating on a little bit different scale, so then that's like that's where it's really come into play of like, how much better can you get with getting the same level of players. Like there's no shine around it. Like our league recruits like 2 and 3 star players out of high school, on the women's side. And so it's like, well, how do we go for 4-star, 5-star players? And it's like, well, winning's not enough, and whether there's a geographical connection or what else, the NIL is a part of it.
I was just going to say, switching over to, expectations for this year, obviously coming off a 30-3 season, you lose Desiree Young, scoring 18 points a game. Who are some of the people that you expect to step into some of those bigger roles this year? I know you're returning, the other 2 top points per game scorers in your from your team last year, but who's some of the people that you're looking at to make that next step?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you referenced people instead of player, because with a player like Desi, you don't just, try to replace her with one human. To squeeze someone else's feet in her shoes would not be fair to that person and probably be a disservice to Desi and all that she was for our program and really for the game. And so it's definitely like by committee. When you think about the impact that she had on our program, there's a lot of opportunity. It's of course on the court, the rebounds, the points, but the passion plays, the leadership, all of that stuff. So our has already done a great job of kind of obviously like identifying like we're missing that, so who wants to step into those opportunities? Alyssa Brown, she was here for media day as a senior, the tournament MVP last year. Like naturally she has, some of the biggest opportunity to just help pick up some of those things that Desi provided us. That's the leadership and obviously some of the on-court stuff. But we have young players that have been, waiting for their time, so to say. And McKenna Brackens was a freshman last year that got limited minutes, but she's going to play a lot more this year. Meadow Rowland was another freshman last year, but she redshirted. She didn't play. She's from Fresno, and we're excited about her having a big breakout year. But then it's also relying on our guards too. It's not just other forwards trying to fill that, but the leadership and some of those things. Like McKenna and Meadow and Macy James is a senior for us. She kind of started to find her stride late in the year last year, and she's a big guard that can play multiple positions. So we're excited about the group that we have and how we're getting better.
This conference, Vienna Cumber, we talked to her and she said it night in and night out is just like a dogfight. And with you, and you're voted first in the conference again, you've been on the top. Have you changed your approach from building the program and now being, we're going to be in the tournament this year. We're going to win the conference and be in the tournament. Have you changed your approach at how you coach your players, the message you preach from trying to build what you've built? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think to your point of, at some point you're building to get to where you are, and not that we've arrived, but we've now kind of like established where we are, and now we want to continue to climb the ladder. But I think for me as the coach and the messaging to the team is like, you still can't skip steps. It's not like, and our conference, like you said, it's going to be better than ever this year. So it's like, first of all, you're not playing in the NCAA tournament in October or November. And you have to secure your spot there. And you do that by winning the conference tournament, playing a schedule as hard and as best you can, which we're doing this year. So, our expectation isn't changing, and it gets harder every year. So we kind of have to like keep our players on our toes and not just think like, oh, we're picking up where we left off last year and that was beating everyone. It doesn't work like that. You've got to, every year you kind of have to start from the ground up a little bit.
I'll leave you on this last question. I'm looking at your schedule: Oklahoma,
Gauntlet,
Arizona,
Baylor. I mean,
UCF, DePaul, Northwestern.
That's quite a schedule. I mean,
Yeah.
that probably kudos to you on that and scheduling that. That's probably what you want, right?
Absolutely. First of all, it's a national stage, which is like where, when you're asking me of like, what are the next steps of the program, it's to be on the national stage, throughout the year, not just at the end of the year. And so you do that by playing, a really tough non-conference game. And then, of course, our goals and expectations are to go to the NCAA tournament, but actually win that game, and we haven't for the last 3 years. So me as the coach, I'm like, well, what do we got to do different? If we keep doing the same thing, and then expect something different, we're the silly ones. So the approach this year was let's just make the non-conference schedule as hard as it possibly can be. So that when we get to the tournament and whatever the first round game is, we can kind of look back and say, well, they weren't as hard as Baylor was at Baylor in December. That was a little bit of, my method to the madness. When we were putting it together, I might regret that here in a couple of months, but we've got a new team, and we're going to be extremely challenged in the non-conference. I'm excited for that adversity. We need to feel that growth. And I don't expect to go undefeated. I think we were 10-1 last year going into conference play, and I can promise you that's not going to be the case. If it is, then that would surprise me, but and that's going to be okay for the group because we're going to be challenged. Especially with knowing how tough the league is going to be this year. If we just had a cakewalk of a non-conference, we wouldn't have our team ready.
Well, lastly, I lied. I apologize. What do you expect out of your team this year? What can UNLV fans expect?
Yeah, well, we're going to look and feel different without Desi out there, but, by and large, we're not going to be different. Our kind of what we hang our hat on, playing fast, playing in transition, but playing through the paint. And, of course, that's been Desi the last couple of years, but we've got, again, Alyssa Brown, great post play that we're still going to play through. Our guards are really dynamic, and we're going to attack the rim. So I love offense, and I know a bunch of Lobos out there love offense. So hopefully, we always get high-scoring games. But that's what you can expect, and our expectations are going to be high. And, when it's all said and done, 6-7 months from now, we do want to be dancing. So that's where we hope to be.
I appreciated talking to you last year. I thought for the many people I've talked to in journalism, it was a great interview again. I'm sorry that you're still here. We appreciate your time. She's the she's the women's head coach at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Lindy La Rocque. Thank you for your time. It's much appreciated.
All right. Thanks, guys.
We'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to wrap this thing up.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
We are here to wrap up. Let me edit that. There we go. Just at least to wrap it up. Appreciate Lindy La Rocque, UNLV women's head basketball coach. She was awesome and definitely one of the more candid interviews. You can see me turning the mic. I love it. Hey, that's what you do when you're a startup. Well, we're not that much of a startup anymore. Tomorrow is men for the Mountain West Conference and the West Coast Conference. We're going to be down here early. We'll be going live. We've got obviously Donovan Dent, Richard Patino, and Nelly Jr. Joseph lined up. Nico Medved, Joe Scott, Air Force head coach. I'm looking forward to talking to him. Everybody's favorite, Leon Rice. The University of Miami is calling me. I wonder why. Maybe I got a job. I don't know. I thought it was great today. I really enjoyed Mike Bradbury. He was very candid. I really, really enjoyed the interview. The two girls were great. BJ Rains was awesome from Bronco Nation News, and Lee Faria, yeah, from KOB. What, Jacob, what'd you take away from this? I'm going to put this right here.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, it was great. It was great to talk to some of the coaches, some of the players, some of the media. BJ was awesome. Lee's awesome. The coaches were awesome. I really enjoyed Lindy. She stayed extra. She's the last one here from the Mountain West. So
not like she has to go far.
Yeah, I mean, not like she has to go far, but she could have been doing other things. So we appreciate that. But just overall, a great day. I'm excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, as am I. Let me see how I can do this. Fix this real quick. That doesn't work. There we go. Looking forward to it. So all the listeners really appreciate it. I'm not going to read the bickering between Tommy Gunn and Jimmy H. We look forward to it. Tomorrow, Rick will be joining us. Richard, wait. Do I have it? Richard. There we go. Had to find it. We'll be on live on YouTube and Twitter. We are getting the hell out of here so we can go watch NLCS Game 3 at Ronnie Chavez. Everybody have a good Wednesday. We will talk to you tomorrow. Again, we'll be back at Resorts World for Mountain West Conference Men's Media Day. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us on X. Jacob Neff, Ryan Tomari. This was the Pit Press Live.